So, your views on a very particular issue, external assessment. So, and we'll get into this. Should the BTEC Level 3 Next Generation contain an external assessment of some form? Not necessarily, some people are furiously pressing already, not necessarily an examination, not necessarily an exam, but some form of external assessment validation. Vote now, please. Yes, in all major subject areas. No, yes, if it's appropriate for the subject or sector and progression to further study. No, not at all, or only in a few exceptional cases. Vote now, please. I didn't have over my dead body as an option. But you can take that as number 3. This is, I mean, that's fascinating, isn't it? And actually, to be honest, this kind of really reflects the kind of feedback that we've been getting as over the last 15 months in the first stage of our consultation. And to be really clear about this, this is why we're going to have to do this very carefully. Because quite clearly there are things that vocational qualifications do by way of second chance opportunities, or just opportunities for those types of learners that don't necessarily thrive in exam conditions or in that kind of approach to assessment. But at the same time, the sector is saying to us that in certain areas, the credibility and validity, even if it's only a media story or a university recognition, is something whereby actually they're not averse to having a proper, appropriate external assessment included. We haven't made our decisions on this at all yet, and this is why we have to continue to talk sector by sector to people who are engaged in delivering these programs to really understand this. Well, what's interesting, of course, is that external assessment is not new to BTEC. Actually, there have been, over in its history, times when the sector has delivered the final projects and external assessments. Not much is that new when you think about it and you come back to it. But actually, what's critical is that whatever we do, we develop in a way that is going to ensure that they are still the right qualifications for those learners who don't necessarily thrive in those conditions. But where external assessment will add credibility to it, will help with progression to university or into employment in some cases, we do need to be open to that scenario. Very interesting dynamic appearing in that area, I think. Finally, teacher assessment. We really think it's important that we work alongside all our deliverers on the whole issue of how do we improve teacher assessment, supporting teacher assessment, and possibly actually supporting the articulation of the value of teacher assessment, because we do believe in it fundamentally. So, how should we do this? Should we provide CPD and deep training alongside the qualifications? Should we see a lot more sampling and verification of learner work, and then working with deliverers on what we can learn around their assessments and that help improve them? Should we be providing authorised assignment briefs, which you can choose to use or adapt for your programme? Or should we be providing much more exemplification of the grading of learner work? Or something else? All of them. Well, if all of them, you might want to press 5 here. So your vote, if we could hand over, so if you can make your vote now, please. Okay, that's interesting. That's interesting. Again, slightly not necessarily what I've expected, but that's there's no doubt, I think, that there is a trend out there at the moment, a series of drivers out there at the moment that are looking at the whole area of CPD and training and support more generally for the sector, which I think is one that we really do need to understand and respond to. I think, actually the tradition of here is a qualification, it has been passed by God, by Ofqual, it's handed over to you and we will talk to you in 9 months' time and tell you whether you're doing it right, clearly is no longer the way in which there is an expectation in our market for the way we should be behaving. Now again, so this whole area of actually what can we do to not just police teacher assessment, but to help develop it as a skill and a competency that should be widely recognised, possibly even accredited in the sector. Okay, very interesting. So, I won't go through this one because I'd like to actually hand it over to move on and get some feedback from the panel on some of the things I've raised. But clearly, what we have to do is look at ensuring that we keep the BTEC as the qualification that will make you more employable, but also the qualification that will help you progress in your life onto further study. We clearly have got to respond to the challenge around English and maths post-16. The challenge that's constantly being thrown at the sector without necessarily clear ideas about what the solutions are going to be. We have to keep this progression to university, this progression to employment, but also help you as a sector access those learners at level 2, possibly at 14. Or those that are doing BTECs at level 2 in schools, but probably doing far smaller qualifications going forward than they have been up to now. So what can we do to work with you as a sector about helping you take those students, top them up, help them make the progress and the step up to level 3? So, my last question, your view of the challenges ahead. Of those things that I've presented today, as a sector, what do you think is your biggest challenge, amongst many, and maybe it's another, that we need to think about with regard to working with you? And I appreciate this is very much the way that we interact with you as a sector, and many other things that are obviously critical to you. So what is the biggest challenge in delivering a high-quality 16 to 19 study programme? Raising the standards of literacy and numeracy for those who have not achieved the level 2? Finding quality work experience to run alongside your programmes? Funding and budget constraints. I'm tempted to almost say, I know it's always funding and budget constraints, but nevertheless, some of these things have got very profound impacts on the way you're going to have to plan your curriculum and resource it. Competition from other providers, PTPs, schools, etc., or something else. Please vote. Any over here? Please vote now. Yeah. That's great. I'm pleased about 0% on competition. That seems to me, competition is healthy, should be healthy, I guess, although it has to be fair competition and the playing field has to be level. But now let's look at that, the literacy and numeracy. And a year ago when I was at this conference, there were sessions on literacy and numeracy post-level 2. There were people talking at it, there were challenges that were being thrown down to the sector. I really don't know if we know yet, as a sector, how we are going to address some of those issues and really make a difference fundamentally to it. And for me, this is in all the consultation we've run so far, this overwhelmingly comes back again and again as one of the big issues that they want support on. How much do we need to embed literacy and numeracy in our BTECs? Contextualise solutions, but actually at the same time, let's not overload the BTEC. What are the standalone approaches? What about functional skills? All these things. This is the area again and again that the sector comes back to. Okay. So, it doesn't end here. That wasn't all the answers. I'm sure, there's an interesting mix of people in the room. But nevertheless, what we will be doing is launching very, very soon a major second phase to our consultation programme. It is a project which is trendily called co-creation, but a community that we're going to be setting up where you will be able as a sector to ask us to engage with us, to join the community, to actually help us make the final decisions around what BTEC needs to look like in the future. I hope that you will want to take part in that. There's a card at the end if you are interested in becoming an ongoing part of the BTEC community to help us create these and recreate these qualifications. We really are very, very keen to hear from you. You will have an impact on what the final products look like going forward.